Hey everyone, welcome to this bonus podcast episode. I have been trying to keep my mouth shut all week because I want it to be a surprise, but I have my special guest, Heidy De La Cruz, back. The first episode was so good that we did about a month or so ago, and Heidi
Yes.
and I just felt like there's more we need to dive into. And because at the tail end of our conversation, it kind of segued into identity and motherhood. And I was like,
Yes.
what the heck? We need to have you back to talk about that. And we can't do it in one conversation. So Heidi is back. So Heidi, why don't you take the floor for a minute to refresh our listeners about who you are?
Yes, thank you so much for having me back again. And I'm very, very excited for this conversation, which I find is extremely important for mothers and entrepreneurs and mompreneurs and caregivers. Again, I'm Heidi De La Cruz. I am a podcast host of The American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants. I am a poet. I am a blogger, writer, and mom, writing coach. Like I help people with the writing services. I'm a wife, all the things, all of the things.
Right. And I think this topic really stuck out to me because Heidi sent me an amazing blog, and we'll make sure that we link that below in the show notes.
Yes.
But I think it's really important, guys, just to remember that your identity is more than just a name. Okay,
Yeah.
you are more than being a mom. You are more than just being a caregiver. You are more than just being an online entrepreneur. You are more than just maybe you identify with being a certain crafter, but you're more than that. Okay,
Yep.
you are so much more than what any label or stigma in society could ever place on you. You know,
Mhm.
you are a daughter of Christ first and
Yes.
foremost,
First and foremost,
and
yes.
you have been given this one life, this one body. And so I think part of reconnecting with your identity definitely applies into, because one of the tips that Heidi's going to share about, I love that Heidi shared about, is self-care. Because if we don't
Yes.
take care of our body as a living temple, how in the name of Mike are we going to be able to keep showing up as X, Y, and Z, mompreneur, caregiver, mom, a coach, sister, daughter, cousin, friend,
Yeah.
you name it, volunteer. There's so many hats that we can be labeled with. And if we're not intentionally taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it's a house of cards. But I do want to share with you, because this just happened to me this morning when I was doing my intensive program with my Christian life coaches. I love how the quotes that my coach said. She said, we're not about perfection. We're not going to be perfect. Only God is perfect, but we're not about perfection. We're about just intentionally coming back again and again and again to master these basic fundamentals of self-care and holistic health, and then and tweaking them as we need to,
Yep.
until they become second nature. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to go from 0 to 60 overnight, guys. Okay.
Yep.
If you're in a place of you've you're totally burned out, you haven't taken care of yourself in a while, or it's more on the scope of you haven't even started. I mean, whatever end of the spectrum you're at, we want to help you get there in a timetable that actually is realistic and works for you, and to where you don't feel pressured like, I can't do this, or I have to be perfect, or like, God doesn't want us to be, God didn't call us to be stressed. Okay, that's
Hmm.
another thing. I didn't know this, but did you know this, Heidi? There's 365 verses in the Bible that deal with stress, just on the
One
topic of
for
stress.
one for each day of the year. Look at that.
That's what my coach shared about, a little tip in my lesson this morning. And I was like, and so I instantly went through this morning and looked in my Bible, and Matthew 16:33 came to mind, of where it talks about, like, God has not called us to live in stress,
Hmm.
literally. So
Hmm.
I just really love that verse. So a little nugget for a little Bible truth there. I need to memorize
Yeah.
it so I actually have that in my pocket when something happens. But let's dive into
Yes.
these tips. Okay, so we've touched a little bit on self-care, and I want you to dive
Hmm.
more into that. But share the other two tips of what really hits us with struggling with this new identity of being a mom after
Yes.
we've been identifying as a wife when we got married, and even our career, even long before
Yeah.
we even got our families into the picture.
So this I wrote a blog post, and again you had mentioned that you're going to link it, and this came back from, it started from watching my stepmom, always taking care of us, of the kids, and my husband, not my husband, sorry, her husband, my dad, just taking care of everybody. And I rarely saw her taking time for herself, to take care of herself. And it's like, you know, once I became a mom, I did want to spend time for myself. I did want to go and do my nails and things like that. And I needed a break. And sometimes I would be made be made guilty because of that. It's like, no, like you have to do everything with your kids and everything. But I don't believe in that. I believe fully that you need to take care of yourself, because if you can't pour from an empty cup, like everybody says, like it's been said. And if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be your best self to take care of your family, kids, husband, and everything. So that's where that came from. And then also, I had went to a networking event, and one of the ladies there was saying, she was like, when a new baby is born, a mother is born. So, let's say it's your first child, and this is a new version of yourself that you didn't know before. And you don't know how to be a mother, you learn as you go and things like that. So like each time that you have another kid, it's like a newer version of yourself is growing, because you're no longer a mom of one, you're now a mom of two, right? Or three, and things like that. So it's like a new version of yourself has grown. So it's like we can get tied up in like the day to day, everything that we need, that the kids need. But it's like, but what about ourselves? Like, have you sat back and think about, it's like, who am I? Like you just go a day to day to day, taking care of this, taking care of that, appointments, after school stuff, caregiver and everything. But it's like, sit back and think to yourself, like, who am I? Who is Melissa? Who is Heidi? First and foremost, we are daughter of Christ. Yeah, we mentioned that before. But so I wrote this blog post with 3 tips, and you mentioned the self-care one, and the first one that I had written was about hobbies. So it's like, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do outside of spending time with your children? I mean, we love spending time with our kids. No one loves our kids more than we do, but it's like, what else do you like to do besides spending time with your kids? Do you like to read? Do you like to write? Do you like to go out for walks? Do you like to swim? So in the blog post, I suggest that you sit down and write things that you like to do outside of your kids, and then take some time intentionally to do them, whether it is 20 minutes of walking outside, which does us good, fresh air, nature, and all that. If you like to write, then journal, journal about your day, journal about your emotions. Have that, that me time, that hobby. What is it that you like to do? Sometimes I do incorporate my kids into things, but it's important to spend time with ourselves, right? So
Hmm.
the second one was self-care, so taking a break. We know how exhausting it is to be a mom. I mean, we don't stop being moms. We are moms 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Once that child is born, it's just like we're always a mom. So why not take a break? You can get burned out from being a mom. Take, whether it is like 20 minutes in the morning to read your Bible or to pray or to worship, but just have that alone time, taking a break. Or maybe just have your spouse or your partner just have the kids for an afternoon, and then you go and go to the mall or shopping or getting
Hmm.
your nails done, something, taking a nap. Take a nap, 20-minute nap, 30-minute nap, going to the beach or meditating, whatever it is, for you. Just make sure you schedule that time. I wrote that for me, reading the Bible, journaling, getting my nails done, and every once in a while I'll get a massage. And yes, when I am doing these things, I sometimes do get mom guilt. It does creep up. It's like if I'm getting my nails done and it's taking too long, it's like, oh, I should be home with my kids. But it's like, try to stop that thought and be like, no, I deserve this time, because you pour out so much into your family, so much into other people, that you need to pour into yourself and refresh yourself. And then the last one was maintaining friendships. We
Yes.
know that being a mom, once again, you get caught up in the day to day, and next thing you know, like 3 months has gone by and you haven't had an adult conversation besides your husband. And it's like, I need some girl time. Like, I need to get out, get with my friends, whether it is for lunch, whether it is for dinner, just have that one-on-one girl time, because it is so important for our mental health. Um, and we know that adult friendships are hard. So it's like, you have to like schedule it out. It's like text them. It's like, hey, when are you available? Oh, 3 months from now. Okay, put it on your calendar, but do it. Do it. Do not cancel. Like, go through with it and do it, because I promise you it will definitely help. Um, so why is it important to maintain those friendships, to not lose our identity in motherhood? Is, again, like I stated, we need adult conversation. We need to connect back to ourselves, because when you're talking to kids all the time, like, it's just like, don't do this, don't do that, or watching TV or whatever. But it's like, we need to have that one-on-one adult conversation, because at the end of the day, we are adults, right?
Mhm.
So my homework for everyone who's listening is to text a girlfriend who you haven't talked to in a while, set up a date and go meet with them, whether it's for an hour, just go do it. Now, I do have a bonus tip that I wrote in my blog. And I know that a lot of people do not agree with this, because they're like, once your children are born, they're your number one priority. But listen, just listen to me.
Buckle
The
up. She's going to lay it on us, guys. So come on,
Yes.
listen up.
So
Come
the
on, give it
last
to us,
one
Heidi.
is, don't neglect your marriage. So a lot of people say kids come first, but to me, honestly, it's God, me and my spouse, then our kids. And this is why. I'm not saying neglect your kids. Obviously, you have to take care of them. You have to, do what's best for them, but your marriage should come first. Why? Because your marriage was before the kids, and it's going to be there after the kids, right? So
Absolutely.
let's say all this time that the kids are little and you're putting them first, you're neglecting your marriage, you are not, you're not connecting with your husband, you're not talking, it's just like on the go day to day. And the next thing you know, the kids are off to college, or they moved out, and they got married, and you're looking at your spouse and you're like, who are you? you know like, who are we? Do we even have a relationship anymore? So that's what happens. That's why I've seen plenty of times, my friends' parents and just people who I knew, that after the kids moved out, they divorced because there was no marriage. They didn't focus on their marriage. So to me, we have to make also time for our marriage, having that one-on-one with our husbands, um date nights, and things like that, because we have to be able to work on our marriage every single day. It's or else you're not going to have one, right?
Hmm.
So I know that a lot of people disagree with that, but honestly, like, it's the biblical way. You put God first, you put your marriage first, and then the kids, because guess what? You and your husband are working on each other's marriage. You guys are good. You guys are filling each other's cup, and everything. So you guys are good, and then you guys will be able to be even better together to take care of those kids, right? Because if you're doing everything on your own as a mom, you're getting burnt out. You're not going to be able to take care of your husband. You're in a bad attitude. Your husband's not going to want to take care of you because you're in a bad attitude, right? Because you're in a bad mood. So then it's like a mess all over the place. And then the house, it doesn't have good vibes. It's like, a bad mood. And then the kids grow up in this household with bad moods. And it's like, no, God, spouse, kids. Take care of yourself, take care of your spouse will take care of you, and then you guys can take care of your children together. And this all ties into not losing our identity in motherhood, and it will help you in the long run.
Absolutely. I love, okay, you put a buttload of information there. So let's back up for just a minute. I love it. I love how my girl just firecracked us and just blew it out of the water. Okay, so we touched on self-care
Yes.
and relationships. And here's the thing. I think it's interesting you touched on friendships, and it is
Yeah.
needed, but right now, realistically, a lot of my friends are moms and
Yeah.
caregivers and things like that right now. So the relationship that's been sticking out to me more than anything has been with my cousin, and he is
Oh.
just really wonderful. I mean, we're 2 months apart, so we've been best friends since we were young.
Okay.
And I love how he has a dog, and my daughter absolutely loves the dog. And I just love how even though we're on different ends of the spectrum, you know, he has his career, he's gotten a house, he isn't in a marriage, but he is still so invested in where I'm at in my journey, coming along and supporting. So
Beautiful.
we have together first, so we have play dates where we'll go to the park. He'll
Yes.
bring the dog, I'll bring Linda. We go around the park, and it's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah.
And that has been a way to get me out of the house. It's been a way for Linda to get nurtured by another stable male figure in her family, besides her
Oh,
grandpa,
beautiful.
besides her
Hmm.
father. So I want to say too, as an idea too, that maybe the intentional relationship isn't necessarily a girlfriend. It can
Oh,
be a guy.
yes.
It can be
Yep.
someone else in your family that you just have a break with. There's been times I have an aunt that I'm very close with, and there's been times where we've just gone out for lunch and had
Yep.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, there was one time where uh my I love what my Christian life coach called them. She said she's had, because I just was trying to describe the relationship I have with my four cousins. They're more like siblings to me because I'm
Yep. Hmm.
adopted and I have no siblings. So she said, "Oh, well, in our family we call them couslings. With us, it's
Cuslings.
we
That's cute.
cousin. That's cute. I hadn't thought about that, but we just say siblings. They said, you know, I'm just to my aunt, I'm another daughter. So she's like, I
Yeah.
have five kids instead of four. So it's really special.
Oh,
So there was one time over the summer when the middle girls and the baby out of the girls, but the next two that are older than me, they live in out of state, so they came home from out of state, and my oldest sister lives here, my baby brother obviously lives here, and we just got together and had lunch. We had my brother couldn't
aw.
come, but we had a girls lunch, and the family stayed and helped, that came and helped watch, to be with my husband in case he had an episode, and to watch my daughter. And that was just so wonderful, you know, to have that break
Yeah.
where we could have just intentional time with my family. And it was, you know, it was after my mom had passed away. So just to have
Mm.
that time where we could just do something fun. We went to this cute little local little restaurant. It was new. I had no idea this place existed, but it was really cute. They do like little teas, different flavors of tea on like actual old fashioned china,
Oh,
serve it to you.
nice.
Yeah, with teapots. And my grandmother loved anything that was teapot related or tea related. She had teacups galore, and she also had I remember she had a sweater that had teacups all over it. And my mom obviously enjoyed teacups and tea parties and things like that. So when we went there and had this cute little boutique type restaurant, having hot tea, talking about both of them, having and then enjoying this really delicious food. I mean, for a little small place, cafe type place,
Yeah.
the sandwiches were good. It was so yummy. But it was just fun to do that. And so I really encourage you guys to be creative with that. How can you intentionally get yourself out of the house to nurture those relationships across the board, whether it's for a one-on-one date with yourself to just get the heck out and have time to yourself, or getting up early, maybe it is getting those date nights back on the calendar. You know,
Yeah.
that's something my husband and I are working on. Maybe because a lot's happened the last 3 years with his illness and
Yep.
COVID and all that other crap, you know, that we could dive into in another
Hmm.
conversation. And then of course, you know, again, with your either siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, or even close friends, maybe someone in your church, if you've developed a good relationship with
Yes.
someone in your church or congregation of faith, whatever your faith you practice. I want you doing that. Heidi wants you doing that. Okay.
Yes.
And part of this whole process is by intentionally blocking out that time. And like Heidi said, even if it's 3 months in advance, I'd rather you do that and get it on the calendar and choose. I like what my Christian life coaches have been. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going there a lot, but it's just what's on my heart because it's just in
Yeah.
the season
Yeah.
I'm at, it's helping. But I like how they had us use the terminology in another lesson where they said, I choose. I choose to invest
Mm.
in myself. Okay. Because that really is what it comes down to. As a
Yep.
mom, as a caregiver, as a mompreneur, as a daughter of Christ, we spiritually have to have a foundation. We physically need to have a foundation. We mentally and emotionally need to have a foundation for how we take care of ourselves, because that is what plays into how we're able to show up long term as a mom, as a caregiver, whatever hat you want. And it is that your marriage will last a lot longer than I mean,
Yes.
even though when you have adult children, I mean, my dad's in his like 70s, I'm in my latter 30s, but I still need him. But it's a different relationship and different
Hmm.
dynamic than when I was a little girl.
Of
Okay. So
course.
I'm not implying that motherhood or parenthood stops. Okay.
Oh, yeah. No.
But in terms of the different dynamic and how the relationship changes as your children grow, it does change. Okay. And you do need to be present, but your marriage shifts. Before you have kids,
Yes.
your marriage is at totally the forefront, and kids aren't even in the picture. When you have kids, you got to be a little more intentional with keeping that marriage at the full focus so you can show up for your kids. Then after the kids graduate, it's back to the marriage being like when you were newlyweds, back at the full focus.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
how can
that was
you nurture it
beautiful.
through those? How can you nurture it through those three phases? It's so incredibly important. And I just want you guys going into 2023 with the baby step forward of having starting to create something in place to where you're consistent on it month by month. If you need to take the beginning of the month or the end of the month to just block out your time for your self-care time, do that. Or even if you just need to take a week and just kind of really get a feel of when you can kind of, if it's focusing on just yourself, where are those times in the day where I can have time for myself? And then days of the week. My husband's on a sporadic work schedules, and he has set days that he works, set days that he is off every week. So we know what days that he's available for us to have maybe some one-on-one time. It's just a matter of making a phone call to family or friends or people in our
Yeah.
church of saying, hey, we want to have a break. Could you, come and watch our daughter and be with my dad, things like that. So it comes down to intentionally. So your homework from me is look at your calendar, pay attention to the flow of your day, and start creating those non-negotiable times for yourself every day, not just Monday through Friday, not just on Sundays, not just on Saturdays, every day, non-negotiable time. That's your homework for me. And then 2, look at your calendar and start blocking off some friendship, nourishment, relationship dates with, like I said, either family, friends, or someone in your church that you're close to, or well, I shouldn't not say, or I'll say, and your spouse. Okay.
Yep.
You need those things. And I promise you, once you get all those 3 areas, intentional time with yourself every day, nourishing friendship relationships outside of your marriage, and then obviously still nourishing your marriage, everything will fall into place.
Yes.
And I definitely encourage you to, like, a big kick I've been on since July of last year has been time with the Lord. My non-negotiable routine is, before I even start work, 30 to 45 minutes. So I spent 30 to 45 minutes minimum. Actually, a little longer this morning because it was so good. I was diving into some other stuff, but that's okay. I was like, you know what? I needed that, and I'm not ashamed for it, because I'm prioritizing my relationship with my Heavenly Father. And so I can be the mom and the wife and the caregiver and the coach that I need to be. So Heidi, let's refresh people where we can find more Heidy De La Cruz. And since we haven't talked to you in like a month, is there anything new that is growing in your business that you would like to give a shout out to?
You can find me on instagram.com/Heidy, Heidy, period, De La Cruz, DELACRUZ, 13. And what I'm working on now is I'm still, working on my podcast, still having migrants come on and share their stories. I just hosted my first vision board party in person here where I live, which was really awesome and cool. And that was amazing. And what else am I working? I'm helping clients right now, with the writing services. I'm helping one person with their blog, and I'm helping another person get pretty much like their, what they went through with their father, and things like that, like family drama and everything, getting that out on writing. So it's been busy over here, but overall it's been good. This year my word of the year is discipline. I don't know if anybody does word of the year, but mine
I
is
love that.
discipline.
That is
And
so you.
yeah, thanks. So I'm working
Yes, I love
on
it.
being disciplined with my finances, and very disciplined with my time with the Lord, because at the end of the year I got super busy and I kind of like drifted, but I'm like, no, I need to go back and, be intentional, like you said, every single day to spend time with him, and then also with exercise. So I had a baby a year ago, and I have not been able to, lose the baby weight. So I was like, okay, I need to be disciplined in working out and being healthy and, eating right, just because, I just want to be a better me, a better version of myself for my family and everything. So that's what I'm working on. You can catch me on Instagram if you have any questions, or if you're looking to work with me, or if you're an immigrant and you want to be on the podcast, send me a message and then we'll be in touch.
I love it. By the way, going with your word of the year, this is the
Mm-hmm.
second year I've done it. I did growth last year, but the
Oh,
cool thing,
me
since working with
too.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I love it. I love it. Okay.
Yes.
So for me, shifting from growth,
Hmm.
and I did, and I started working with my coaches, like midway through the year. But then
Yeah.
when we got into the tail end of 2022, they did one of my coaches did a one-on-one group coaching thing of where we did an event called Focus in 2023, where we not only did our word of
Mm.
the year, but we did a theme verse for the year. So my theme verse, so my word is surrender. I'm
Okay.
surrender because it's the foundation of Spade, which is so it's basically SMART goals, but with a biblical twist. So Spade is
Yes.
surrender, pray or plan, kind of the two are intertwined. So intertwine which one you want. Accountability, documentation, and evaluation. So you surrender, you're releasing to the Lord what you need and what you want to happen, your timeline, let it be his timeline and not your own. You pray
Amen.
and plan through it. So you do need to have a plan, and you pray and then you plan through with what you feel like you're being called to focus on. And then accountability. So obviously for the business side, I have my business coaches and my business mastermind that I'm a part of. And then for the spiritual side, I have my 2 Christian life coaches, which is also working on the self-care bit and the inner work,
Yeah.
in my relationship with the Lord. And then documentation, obviously I'm doing journaling, I'm doing the programs, and then sharing that with my coaches and the 2 groups I'm a part of for accountability, and just sharing what I learned and the breakthroughs and hearing their stories about what I learned. And then evaluation, obviously we try stuff. I have my 90 goal plan for the quarter, for Q1 and the year, obviously on the business side, but then the spiritual side and the holistic, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual growth, I have that on that side. So right now I'm actually working on hydration. I'm hitting my
Okay.
90 ounces of water. I am trying to hit 15 minutes of movement throughout the day, even if it's just 5 minutes, 2 blocks or 3 blocks to
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
minutes. And then business side wise, I'm just really focusing on just taking it, where I love these. I don't know if you guys use Notion, but Notion is really awesome. I've done Asana and I've done Airtable, I've done Trello, your girl has done them all, but I'm really loving Notion. It's still a learning curve. I love how our coach created some templates to help us out to get used to the software, where we're able to have must get done tasks, should get done tasks, and then like I would like to get done. And that has really helped
Mm.
me with work of just be okay with, like, if I just put 2 or 3 things on there every day, and it might be the same thing, but just to get in the flow of just, okay, this task list has to be done first. So that way I don't get scatterbrained of like, oh, I want to do this, but then I don't get my must-haves done. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely look at that too. If you or a planner. I do have a planner that I use mainly. It's more
Hmm.
for the podcasting type stuff more than anything, which is fine. But yeah, leverage a mix of whatever works for you, whether it's a
Yeah.
family paper calendar like what we do to kind of keep everybody, all the adults, in the space of what's going on, or a digital resource like Trello, Asana, Airtable. There's so many out there. I love Airtable for the back end, personally. And then or even just a paper planner. So or
Yeah.
Google Calendar. I live by my Google Calendar. So
Yep.
do whatever you need to do. So Heidi, thank you so much for
Hmm.
joining us for this amazing bonus episode. Again, I will link the I can't talk, not enough water yet. I will link the podcast or details to the podcast where you can subscribe and everything below, obviously. And then you will also get a link to Heidi's stuff, as well as that blog post if you want to read it in full, because it had a lot of helpful tips
Yes.
in it. And guys, I'm so excited. Doors open for my January workshop on Monday. STEM, prioritizing your self-care, how fitting, in 2023. It opens on Monday, but guys, its doors are only open through Friday, where you can get this
Mm.
new workshop where I teach you how to stay spiritually connected, manage your thoughts, release your emotions with the support of a support network, and just move throughout the day. So it is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual self-care, but you notice we focus on spiritual first. Nice
That's
little.
awesome.
And doors are only open through Friday to get the new workshop for free. After that, price goes up to $97. So definitely check out the links below for that. And always, and this came to my attention too, I had some interesting people reach out with some questions and comments and things that I hadn't thought to address on my Instagram this morning. So please, guys, if you do have specific questions for upcoming guests, when you see me post updates throughout the week about who is going to be on the podcast, and you have specific questions about that topic, please let me know. Or if you have other topics in general that you'd like me to address in any of my content, I would love to address those for you, because as your coach, as your mentor, I want to give you the most of what you need for being successful as a mom, as a caregiver in 2023 with a healthier balance. So guys, thank you again for joining us. We'll see you on Monday for our next episode, and make sure you take time to rest and recharge this weekend. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.